What's up, everybody? I hope you're all doing good. Today, I want to take you guys on a little journey from the 10,000 foot view into the weeds. And what it regards is your community, and you can look at it even at the level of your house. Um, so let's go. First, I'm going to share my screen. And what you would do is go to your search engine and enter CALEnviroScreen. CALEnviroScreen. And then that will take you to the webpage of a state agency, which is the Office of Environmental Health and Hazard Assessment. And they created this modeling tool. And so what this tool does is it shows you which communities are the most disfavored and disadvantaged according to pollution and social characteristics. So if a community doesn't have a lot of people that speak English, for example, it would bring its points up. If the community had a low education level, that would put its points up. If the community had poor drinking water, that would put its points up. If the community had lead in their houses, that would bring their points up. Diesel particulate emissions, which are the most cancerous of particulate emissions, I believe, would bring their points up. And so all those things are put into a pot and added up, and that's how you get the scores. And what the color coding represents is the darkest green means that is the ideal place to live. It's got the least amount of pollution, and some of it as well has to do with population characteristics. That's not what I'm talking about as far as ideal. I'm talking about as far as not being exposed to pollution. So what we see here is a map of California, and if you can see my cursor, you see that the center there is the reddest and the orangest, and then down in LA, there's also some red and orange, as well as out here in near the Mojave Desert, around Mexicali, Tijuana. So let's zoom in. Let's see. We'll click out of there, and okay. So see, what we see is that there's a lot of pollution in Stockton, Modesto, this whole 99 corridor, which in large part is rural, a lot of farm workers there. There's also farmers and people of other ethnicities, but it is one of the more heavily burdened parts of the state compared to the coastal regions. And part of the reason the coastal regions um, like would have good air quality is because the breeze is coming in, but they're also more affluent. So we're gonna zoom in some more, and we see that Kings County is got a lot of pollution. Delano, um, these are largely uh, poor, not wealthy communities. McFarland, Shafter, Bakersfield, um, Arvin, and then we're gonna go into Los Angeles now, and here we are. So, we see Simi Valley, Thousand Oaks, and you guys would know the area if you're from Los Angeles better than me. Beverly Hills, Santa Monica. It's really green, and then it gets dark. Ist, San Fernando, Burbank, Glendale, Vernon, Bell, Montebello, Southgate, Compton, Gardena, Inglewood, Santa Fe Springs. And then it starts getting nice again as you go to La Brea, Chino Hills, Diamond Bar, but City of Industry, West Covina. And I think, given what little I do know, um, this kind of does also break up along ethnic lines. These communities that have the green and better, less pollution. Um, I don't know them to be ethnic hubs where I do know, Montebello, Pico Rivera, Bell, Compton are. So let's zoom in a little bit more and we're gonna just pick somewhere. We'll pick Commerce. And see if you zoom in enough down to the census tract, you'll get a thing come up with some information, right? And so that tells you right here, this this census tract in Commerce is in the 99 percentile, which means only 1% of other census tracts are worse. As far as pollution, it's in the 100th percentile, meaning compared to all other census tracts, irregardless of race, color, what have you, there are no other census tracts that are worse. There might be some that are equal, but none are more polluted. So these are the exposures are the types of pollutants. This is what the pollutants are. It's in the 51 percentile for ozone. So it means it's in the middle as far as you add up all the ones in the state. But for particulate matter, which gets in your lungs, deep in there, can give you heart disease, it's in the 87th, which means only 13% of the other census tracts are worse. For diesel particulate, which is more carcinogenic than regular particulate matter, it's in the 96th percentile. For toxic releases, 88. For traffic, 91. For drinking water, it's 65 and 69 for lead from housing, which is, I guess, not too bad. Environmental effects, cleanup sites, groundwater threats, hazardous waste, impaired waters, and solid waste. It's all in the high in a very high percentile. So it means that all these things are issues there. 80 percentile for cardiovascular disease. And then for education, it's in the 86, linguistic poverty. You get a bar chart, it can tell you what the ethnicities are, their ages. And so you can enter into the little search bar your address. And when you do, you can see if you live in one of these areas that is in the red zone, which means it's overburdened. And if it is, you can start speaking up about that, or looking for folks that already speak up and could use your voice um, as well. And when I say that, for me, ideally, no one would say, "Hey, he's gonna go speak for me," and they might do that, but ideally they would say, "Hey, how do I submit my comment?" And then they would just submit their own comment. And there's the power in numbers. It's about the cause. They speak on it, I speak on it. We don't even need to speak on each other. um that would be the ideal for me. um if I was advocating in my community, you could do it how you want, but I think this is important to at least look at, because it will um, show you what is in your community. And so far as pollution, you can look up then how that is what the health effects of those things are. So, and then you can see the trends. Are all the reds the from your experience, the brown community or the black community or the Cambodian community? I thought something over here was pretty interesting. That um, where was it? Oh, here we go. So, I've read that Artesia, Cerritos, La Palma, like these areas are kind of nice. And I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me in the chat. And I know Hawaiian Gardens is, more impoverished. And you see, I don't know the streets, but you see this little area that is red, and these other areas are green. So is this the main part of where the where it's where the people are concentrated? The biggest pollution there is diesel, probably because of the freeway right next to it. And then lead from housing is at 89. So if you had kids, you would know to watch out for them being exposed to like paint chips, things like that. You can take steps to protect them. Impaired waters is pretty high. Cardiovascular disease is high there. Linguistic isolation is 97, which means that at least in this part of Hawaiian Gardens, most people speak a language other than English. Poverty's at 81, unemployment at 58, and housing burden at 97. And again, that's not saying 58% of the people there are unemployed. It's saying that compared to other census tracts, 42% of them are better off or worse off. Worse off. Yeah, worse off. So, anyways, this tool is called CALEnviroScreen. If you're bored one day, you can play with it. You can look up your address. You can look up just places to be hoods, see if those are red. Look up places to be wealthy communities, see if those are green. See if you can spot the patterns yourself. And there's always exceptions, but I think the general trend, and it's acknowledged as part of this, um, that these communities have been disfavored. And there's actually legislation attached to this that has funding to it under these communities being designated as disadvantaged communities under Senate Bill, I think 535. Anyways, that is today's video. It's not as interesting as the other ones, but I really do hope you guys take the time to search and learn what's affecting your community, your kids, what's harming them, and then looking for ways to advocate um, against it. So I with that, I wish you all a good night and a happy, what's tomorrow? Wednesday. Have a good one.